You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Dale Carnegie. How to Win Friends and Influence People. By Dale Carnegie is not just a book, it's a time-tested guide to human connection. Written during the Great Depression, this book struck a chord because it offered something far more valuable than money: the power to connect, communicate, and influence people in a genuine and lasting way. Carnegie, who taught public speaking and self-improvement, distilled decades of teaching into this groundbreaking book. It became one of the best-selling self-help books of all time, with over 30 million copies sold worldwide and still topping charts even today. At its core, this book teaches a simple truth: how you treat people determines the quality of your relationships, your career, and even your happiness. It's divided into 4 major parts: fundamental techniques in handling people, ways to make people like you, how to win people to your way of thinking, how to lead others without causing offense or resentment. Each principle is backed by real-life stories, historical examples, and simple steps that anyone can follow. It's not about manipulation, it's about understanding human nature and leading with empathy. Part 1. Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. Human interaction is an art, and Dale Carnegie begins his timeless book by emphasizing the foundational principles that govern successful relationships. In Part 1, he presents 3 simple yet powerful techniques to improve how we deal with people in everyday life. These aren't just abstract ideas, they are practical tools that can make us more influential, likable, and effective in our personal and professional relationships. Let's explore each principle deeply and understand why they work. The first principle Carnegie offers is this: don't criticize, condemn, or complain. While it may seem natural to point out someone's faults when they make a mistake, Carnegie argues that criticism rarely leads to positive change. Instead, it usually backfires. People don't like being told they're wrong. When criticized, most individuals become defensive, resentful, or even hostile. Instead of learning from their mistake, they focus their energy on justifying their actions or blaming others. This creates distance, not cooperation. To illustrate this point, Carnegie shares several real-life stories, including one about Two-Gun Crowley, a notorious criminal. Even while being hunted for murder, Crowley believed he was a good man who didn't deserve punishment. This highlights a critical truth: people judge themselves by their intentions, not by their actions. When we criticize them, we challenge their self-image, and that's when walls go up. In contrast, if we want someone to change or improve, a better approach is understanding and empathy. Instead of condemning, we can ask questions, offer support, or even reflect on our own mistakes. People are much more likely to listen and grow when they don't feel attacked. Carnegie emphasizes that the key to positive influence is not correction, but connection. The second principle is just as powerful: give honest and sincere appreciation. Everyone wants to feel important. This is one of the deepest human desires. A genuine compliment or a word of appreciation can light up someone's entire day, and it costs us nothing. But Carnegie warns that appreciation is not the same as flattery. Flattery is shallow, often exaggerated and self-serving. People can see through it. Appreciation, on the other hand, is sincere, specific, and comes from the heart. It acknowledges someone's effort, talent, or goodness in a way that makes them feel truly seen and valued. Consider the difference between saying "good job" and "I really admire how you stayed calm and focused during that stressful meeting." The first feels generic. The second shows that you paid attention and truly appreciate what the person did. Carnegie shares the story of Charles Schwab, a successful steel executive who was known for his ability to inspire others. Schwab once said, "I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people the greatest asset I possess." How did he do it? Not by yelling, threatening, or punishing. He did it by encouraging, praising, and appreciating. Carnegie calls this the secret of success with people, giving them what they crave most: sincere appreciation. This principle can be applied in every relationship. With co-workers, it builds morale. With friends and family, it strengthens bonds. Even with strangers, a kind word can create a spark of goodwill. When we take the time to notice and acknowledge others' efforts, we make them feel important, and they remember us for it. The third and final principle in this part is, arouse in the other person an eager want. At its core, this principle is about perspective. Most of us approach situations by thinking, "What do I want?" But Carnegie teaches that the key to influencing others is to flip that mindset. Instead, ask, what does the other person want? People are motivated by their own desires, not by ours. So, if we want to persuade someone to take action, we need to speak in terms of their interests, not ours. Whether we're selling a product, pitching an idea, or asking for help, we're more likely to succeed when we show how the other person benefits. Carnegie tells the story of a father trying to convince his son to stop smoking. Instead of lecturing him or punishing him, the father talked about the son's ambition to be a great athlete. He connected the message to the boy's own goals, and that made the advice meaningful. The boy listened, not because he was told to, but because he saw how it helped him. This principle applies to business, relationships, and everyday communication. For instance, if you're in sales, don't just list features. Explain how those features meet the customer's needs. If you're asking a colleague for help, don't just say, "I need this done." Try. Your expertise would really help this project succeed, and it could be a great opportunity to showcase your work. That way, you're aligning your request with something they care about. What makes this principle so effective is that it puts us in tune with the natural motivations of others. We become less self-centered and more empathetic. We begin to listen more, ask more questions, and think about how our words and actions affect others. This shift can dramatically improve how we communicate and build cooperation. Together, these three principles, don't criticize, give sincere appreciation, and arouse an eager want, form a powerful foundation for better human relationships. They are simple, but they require a shift in mindset. They call us to be less reactive and more thoughtful. They ask us to see people not as problems to fix, but as individuals to understand. Carnegie's message is timeless because it touches something universal, the way people want to be treated. No matter who we are or where we're from, we all want to be respected, appreciated, and heard. When we apply these principles sincerely, we not only influence others more effectively, we become better human beings in the process. Part 2. 6 Ways to Make People Like You. In a world filled with people craving connection, understanding how to genuinely make others like you is an invaluable skill. Dale Carnegie understood that being likable isn't about being flashy, witty, or dominant. It's about making people feel seen, heard, and valued. In Part 2 of his book, he outlines 6 powerful principles that, when practiced sincerely, can transform your personal and professional relationships. These principles aren't manipulative tricks. They're rooted in empathy, kindness, and respect. Let's dive into each of them in detail and explore why they're so effective. 1. Become genuinely interested in other people. The first and perhaps most important rule of likability is genuine interest. Not fake curiosity or small talk for the sake of being polite, but real, heartfelt engagement with who someone is, what they care about, and how they see the world. People can sense when you're being authentic versus when you're just going through the motions. Carnegie explains that if you want someone to like you, the fastest and most lasting way is to be interested in them. Ask yourself, do you remember their hobbies, their birthday, their latest win at work, or a struggle they shared? These small things matter greatly. Think about a time someone remembered a little detail about your life. It probably made you feel special, like you mattered. That's the effect of genuine interest. One of Carnegie's examples is the legendary Theodore Roosevelt, who would often spend the night before meeting someone studying their interests, work, or background, so he could connect with them on their level. That's what made people admire him. This principle encourages you to step outside your own concerns and truly focus on others. When you do this consistently, you'll be amazed at how quickly people warm up to you. 2. Smile. This may sound too simple, but don't underestimate its power. A smile is a universal language of kindness. It tells others that you're friendly, approachable, and glad to be with them. A genuine smile can put others at ease, break tension, and open the door to connection. Carnegie says, "Actions speak louder than words, and a smile says, 'I like you. You make me happy. I'm glad to see you.'" That's powerful. It's like sending a nonverbal message of acceptance. Even if you're having a tough day, when you smile sincerely, when you let joy or gratitude show on your face, it affects both you and the other person. Psychologists and neuroscientists have proven that the simple act of smiling can uplift your mood and trigger positive responses in others. A real smile doesn't cost anything, but it's worth a lot. You don't have to have perfect teeth or be cheerful all the time, but cultivating a warm, sincere smile will go a long way in making people feel good around you. 3. Remember that a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest sound. This principle is so simple yet so often overlooked. People love hearing their own name. It's deeply personal. It's part of their identity. Carnegie emphasizes that remembering and using someone's name shows that you value them as an individual. Have you ever walked into a shop or a workplace and had someone greet you by name? It immediately makes you feel welcome. On the flip side, if someone keeps calling you by the wrong name or forgets it entirely, you might feel disrespected or unimportant. Dale Carnegie tells the story of Andrew Carnegie, the steel tycoon, who made it a habit to remember the names of all his employees, even thousands of them. He understood that people thrive on personal recognition. Remembering names requires attention and effort, especially if you meet many people, but the impact is well worth it. Carnegie suggests repeating the name in conversation, visualizing the name written, and using it a few times naturally to help lock it into memory. In a fast-paced world, remembering someone's name is a small act that makes a big impression. 4. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. One of the most effective ways to make someone like you is to let them talk, especially about themselves. People love to share their experiences, ideas, and feelings. When you give them space to do that, they feel heard and respected. Carnegie reminds us that being a good conversationalist doesn't mean being a great speaker, it means being a great listener. Not the kind who waits for their turn to talk, but someone who's truly present, paying attention, nodding, asking thoughtful questions, and responding with interest. Most of us are so preoccupied with our own lives that we forget to really listen. But listening is the cornerstone of connection. When you make someone feel like they matter, like their words have value, they will naturally warm up to you. One story Carnegie shares is about a dinner party where he barely said anything. He simply asked questions and let the other person talk. At the end of the evening, that person said he was the most interesting conversationalist he'd ever met, even though Carnegie had spoken very little. Why? Because people are drawn to those who make them feel interesting. Try it for yourself. The next time you're with someone, ask them about their life, listen carefully, and show curiosity. You'll be surprised at how quickly rapport builds. 5. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. If you want people to be interested in you, you have to start by being interested in what interests them. That's the heart of this principle. Connect through common ground. Everyone has passions, hobbies, concerns, or goals. When you make the effort to understand what excites someone and speak to that, they feel understood. It's human nature to be drawn to people who get us. Carnegie shares a story about a man who desperately wanted to meet a busy publisher. Instead of talking about his own goals, he researched the publisher's interests and began the conversation by speaking about fly fishing, a topic the publisher loved. This opened the door to a warm conversation and eventually a deal. This principle isn't about manipulation, it's about building bridges. When you care about what others care about, they feel valued and a natural bond forms. Let's say your coworker loves dogs. Even if you're not a pet person, a simple question like, "How's your lab doing?" can open a meaningful exchange. It shows you remembered something important to them, and that means a lot. In relationships, focusing on shared interests and exploring their world will always create more engagement than trying to pull them into yours. 6. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. The final and perhaps most powerful principle is this: make others feel important, not through flattery or empty praise, but through real, sincere acknowledgement of their value. Everyone you meet, no matter their status or role, wants to feel like they matter, that their presence, ideas, and actions have meaning. When you recognize that and express it, you tap into a deep emotional need. Carnegie says, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. When you satisfy that craving, you win hearts." This could be as simple as thanking someone for their time, recognizing their effort, or expressing admiration for something they've done well. For example, instead of saying "nice presentation," you might say, "The way you broke down that complex topic was impressive. It really helped me understand the key points." That's sincere, that's specific, and that makes the person feel genuinely appreciated. It's also important to mean it. People can feel when you're just saying things to be polite or get something in return. But when your praise comes from the heart, it strengthens trust. When applied thoughtfully, this principle can uplift a colleague who feels overlooked, bring joy to a friend who's been struggling, or earn the respect of a team member who needs encouragement. These 6 principles may seem simple, but when practiced with sincerity, they can transform your relationships. The key is to shift the focus from yourself to the other person. Listen more, smile more, remember names, connect through their interests, show appreciation, and above all, treat every person as someone who matters, because they do. Dale Carnegie's timeless wisdom reminds us that being likable isn't about charm, it's about genuine connection. It's about treating people the way they want to be treated. When you do that consistently, not only will people like you, they'll remember you, respect you, and be glad to have you in their lives. Part 3. How to win people to your way of thinking. Winning someone over doesn't mean overpowering them with logic, dominating them in debate, or tricking them into agreement. It means creating an environment of respect, empathy, and shared understanding, where people want to agree with you. Dale Carnegie offers 12 timeless principles to achieve just that. Let's explore each one with examples and in-depth analysis. 1. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Carnegie opens this section with a bold idea. Avoid arguments altogether. It seems counterintuitive. After all, if you believe you're right, shouldn't you defend your point? But he explains that even if you win an argument, you lose something far more important: the other person's goodwill. Nobody enjoys being proven wrong. They may resent you, feel humiliated, or become more entrenched in their position. Instead of arguing, Carnegie encourages finding common ground, asking questions, and discussing instead of debating. Suppose your coworker makes a mistake in a report. Instead of saying, "This is wrong," try, "I noticed a few things that might need a second look. Can we go through it together?" This softens the tone, avoids confrontation, and keeps the door open for collaboration rather than defensiveness. 2. Show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say, "You're wrong." These 3 words, "you're wrong," are like red flags in communication. Even if you're correct, saying this directly challenges someone's intelligence, judgment, or integrity. People don't like to be corrected. They like to be understood. Carnegie advises us to acknowledge the other person's perspective even if we disagree. Try saying, "That's an interesting point," or "I hadn't thought of it that way," before gently offering your own view. If someone says, "This new policy is useless," instead of saying, "You don't understand it," try, "It does seem inconvenient at first. I felt the same until I learned why it was implemented." This approach respects their opinion and opens the path for discussion rather than debate. 3. If you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. One of the most disarming things you can do is own your mistakes boldly. Carnegie argues that when you beat your critics to the punch, you eliminate their power over you. Admitting you're wrong shows humility, integrity, and confidence. It builds trust, and often people will rush to defend you once you admit fault. Example: "You're right. I completely forgot about the meeting. I should have been more organized, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." Rather than justifying or blaming, admitting fault quickly softens the atmosphere and strengthens your credibility. 4. Begin in a friendly way. The tone of your approach often determines the outcome. Carnegie says that starting with a warm, friendly attitude paves the way for agreement. No matter how frustrated or right you feel, if your approach is cold or hostile, the other person's defenses will shoot up. If you're trying to convince your neighbor to trim a tree that's hanging over your yard, don't start with, "This tree is a problem." Instead say, "I really appreciate how beautiful your garden looks. I was wondering if we could talk about something I've noticed." This friendly opening shifts the conversation from confrontation to cooperation. 5. Get the other person. Saying yes, yes immediately. This principle borrows from sales psychology. When someone starts saying yes, they are more likely to continue agreeing. Carnegie encourages beginning with questions or statements the other person will naturally agree with. This builds momentum and sets the emotional tone of the interaction. Suppose you want a friend to help with an event. Start with, "You've organized great events before, right?" "Yes." "And you've said you enjoy planning things with impact?" "Yes." Then lead into your proposal. This method increases receptiveness and lowers resistance. 6. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. People love to feel heard. Carnegie emphasizes the power of letting others speak freely, especially when discussing problems or ideas. By doing so, you make them feel valued, learn more about their perspective, reduce their need to resist you. In a negotiation, instead of presenting your terms right away, ask, "What's your ideal outcome here?" Or, "What do you need to feel good about this deal?" When people talk, they reveal their motives, and often talk themselves into a solution aligned with your goals. 7. Let the other person feel the idea. Is his or hers? People are naturally more invested in ideas they helped create. Carnegie advises that if you want someone to adopt your idea, you should let them feel ownership of it. This could mean suggesting an idea subtly, asking questions that lead them to it, or building on something they've already said. Instead of saying, "We should start a feedback system for the team," say, "What do you think about creating a way for the team to give anonymous suggestions?" If they latch on, let them run with it. The goal isn't credit, it's buy-in. 8. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Empathy is not just kindness, it's a persuasive force. When you can articulate someone's viewpoint, they feel heard and respected. Carnegie suggests asking yourself, "How would I feel in this person's shoes?" This simple mental shift can help you frame your words in ways that resonate more deeply. If a customer is angry about a delay, say, "I completely understand how frustrating it must be to wait after placing an order. If I were in your shoes, I'd feel the same." This doesn't mean you agree with them, but it shows you understand them, and that lowers their defenses. 9. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. Closely tied to empathy, this principle involves acknowledging someone's feelings as valid. People may not expect you to agree, but they do want their emotions recognized. Carnegie teaches that phrases like, "I don't blame you one bit for feeling that way," or "I'd probably feel the same," can shift the emotional tone of any conversation. If your team member is upset about extra workload, don't start with, "We all have a lot to do." Instead say, "I get it. It's been a heavy week and your frustration is totally fair." When people feel you're on their side emotionally, they're far more open to hearing your side logically. 10. Appeal to the nobler motives. People want to think of themselves as moral, generous, fair, and honest. Carnegie urges us to appeal to these higher ideals when persuading. This doesn't mean flattery. It means framing your request or argument in a way that reflects the person's better self. Instead of telling a coworker, "You have to stay late because we're behind," try, "You've always been someone the team counts on when it matters most. Could we count on you today?" By appealing to their sense of integrity, helpfulness, or pride, you motivate from within rather than pressure from above. 11. Dramatize your ideas. Facts alone often don't persuade. Carnegie believed in the power of storytelling, visuals, analogies, and vivid language to bring ideas to life. To influence others, you must capture their attention. A well-told story, an emotional comparison, or a dramatic gesture can do more than 1,000 statistics. Want to highlight the importance of cybersecurity? Don't just say, "We need better protection." Say, "Imagine waking up and realizing someone emptied the company bank account overnight." That's what weak passwords make possible. The drama drives the point home in a way raw data cannot. 12. Throw down a challenge. People love to rise to a challenge, especially when it appeals to their pride, skill, or sense of competition. Carnegie discovered that one of the best ways to motivate people was to present a task as a test of ability. This doesn't mean manipulating someone into doing something. It's about tapping into their internal drive to prove themselves or to achieve something great. Instead of saying, "We need this done by Friday," say, "You're one of the few people I know who could actually pull this off by Friday. Think it's possible." Framing tasks as challenges unlocks energy, creativity, and pride in performance. Dale Carnegie's 12 principles for winning people to your way of thinking are not about control, they're about understanding human nature. They ask you to set ego aside, lead with kindness and empathy, speak in ways that invite agreement, let others shine, focus on collaboration over competition. Each principle is rooted in respect for people's feelings, ideas, values, and dignity. When you practice these sincerely, you don't just win arguments, you win hearts, trust, and influence that lasts. This section of Carnegie's book isn't just about persuasion, it's about building relationships that are deeper, more cooperative, and built on mutual respect. Part 4. Be a leader. How to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. Being a leader isn't about issuing commands, it's about inspiring others to willingly do their best. This final part of Dale Carnegie's masterpiece focuses on how to correct, guide, and influence people without crushing their spirit or sparking resentment. In leadership, whether you're a manager, a parent, or simply someone guiding others, how you correct people determines whether they improve or shut down. Carnegie offers 9 principles that allow you to lead with grace, empathy, and long-lasting impact. Let's explore each one in depth. 1. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. Carnegie emphasizes that if you start with criticism, people instinctively brace themselves. They become defensive, tuning out your message to protect their ego. But when you begin with genuine praise, it lowers their defenses and opens them up to feedback. Praise acts as a cushion for criticism. But the key is honesty. The appreciation must be sincere, not manipulative. When people feel genuinely recognized for their strengths, They become more open to hearing about their shortcomings. Imagine you're correcting a team member for missing a deadline. Instead of starting with, "You didn't submit on time," try, "Your last 2 reports were thorough and really impressed the client. That's why I was surprised the recent one came in late." Now the person feels valued, not attacked. They're more likely to listen and want to do better, not out of fear, but out of mutual respect. 2. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. Bluntly pointing out someone's error can cause embarrassment or resentment. Carnegie suggests correcting mistakes indirectly and tactfully, often using humor, tone, or subtle suggestion. This preserves the person's self-esteem and avoids putting them on the defensive. Example: a teacher who sees a student talking in class might say with a smile, "It's so wonderful that you two are passionate about learning. Care to share with the class?" Rather than scolding, they've highlighted the behavior in a light way that still redirects it. This method nudges people to reflect and correct themselves without the sting of criticism. 3. Talk about your own mistakes. Before criticizing the other person, when you admit to your own past mistakes, you show humility and empathy. It reminds the other person that they're not alone, and that even you, someone they respect, have stumbled and grown. It makes your feedback feel more like a shared experience rather than a lecture. Before telling a new employee that they misfiled a report, you might say, "When I first started, I misfiled 3 weeks of reports. It took me a while to figure out the system. Let's go over this together." This instantly removes the power dynamic. Now the person sees you as someone who gets it, not someone standing above them. 4. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. No one enjoys being told what to do. Orders can feel authoritarian, even if the intent is helpful. Carnegie advises asking questions that lead the person to the desired conclusion. This approach gives the person a sense of control, encourages them to think and engage, maintains dignity and collaboration. Instead of saying, "Fix this slide, it's incorrect," try, "Do you think this slide clearly shows the data trend we're aiming to highlight?" Now the person examines their own work and likely comes to the same conclusion you would have forced. This technique is especially powerful with adults and professionals who value autonomy. 5. Let the other person save face. When people feel publicly embarrassed, their pride and self-respect take a hit. Carnegie stresses the importance of allowing people to correct their mistakes without humiliation. If a mistake must be addressed, do it privately. If it must be done publicly, do it gently, and give the person room to maintain dignity. If a staff member forgets a key point during a meeting, don't say, "You forgot the main part." Instead say, "Let's add a bit more detail to this section to give everyone a full picture. Name, can you walk us through that?" This approach covers the mistake while empowering the person to recover confidently. 6. Praise every improvement. When someone starts changing or improving, even slightly, acknowledge it. It motivates them to keep going. Carnegie explains that progress is fragile. If people feel like their efforts are invisible or unappreciated, they may give up. A small word of praise can fuel confidence and inspire continued effort. A student struggling with math starts getting a few answers right. The teacher doesn't wait until they're perfect to say something. Instead, they say, "I see real progress in how you approach this equation. That's exactly the right direction." Now the student feels energized, proud, and willing to keep trying. 7. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. This principle is about identity shaping. Carnegie suggests telling people who they are at their best, and they'll often strive to live up to that image. People want to be seen as competent, kind, intelligent, or reliable. When you voice those positive identities, you plant a seed that often grows. Example: say you're guiding a young manager who struggles with communication. You might say, "You've always had such a thoughtful way of listening. Your team really appreciates that." I think if you apply that same care to your email responses, it'll boost team morale even more. This communicates belief in their potential. Rather than feeling scolded, they feel empowered to become that better version of themselves. 8. Use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct. If you make people feel their flaws are huge and permanent, they'll feel discouraged and give up. Carnegie advises making faults seem temporary and fixable. This boosts morale and gives people the courage to improve. Imagine someone struggling with time management. Instead of saying, "You're always late," say, "With just a bit more planning at the start of the day, I think you could be one of the most reliable people on the team." This reframes the issue as a simple tweak, not a personal failure. It sparks motivation instead of shame. 9. Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. The final principle is about inspiration, not imposition. It's one thing to tell someone what to do. It's another to make them feel excited to do it. Carnegie encourages leaders to align the task with the person's interests, strengths, pride, personal goals. Give them a reason that resonates with them, not just with you. You want a team member to lead a training. Instead of saying, "I need you to do this," say, "You have such a natural way of explaining things, and I know others could really benefit from your approach. It'd mean a lot to have you lead this. How do you feel about it?" Now the task is framed as an opportunity, not an obligation. Each of these 9 principles is rooted in emotional intelligence. They aren't tricks or manipulations. They're tools to maintain dignity, inspire effort, encourage growth. True leadership isn't about control, it's about empowerment. It's about guiding others toward their best self without breaking their spirit along the way. Dale Carnegie understood that people are emotional beings, and that the way you communicate matters more than the message itself. Apply these principles, and you won't just lead better, you'll build trust, strengthen relationships, and create an environment where people want to grow. So, there you have it. 9 timeless principles to help you become the kind of leader people respect, trust, and actually want to follow. Dale Carnegie reminds us that leadership isn't about pointing out what's wrong. It's about lifting people up, guiding them gently, and helping them see the better version of themselves. Whether you're managing a team, raising a child, or just trying to improve your relationships, these strategies will help you influence with kindness, build stronger connections, and create real, lasting change. If you found value in today's summary, don't forget to hit the like button. It really supports the channel. And if you'd like to see summaries of more classic books like this, drop your suggestions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep influencing with empathy. See you in the next video.